Coming to you from Boise, Idaho, the fastest growing city in the U.S. and recognized as one of the most creative and vibrant cities to live in. This is a special edition of Enhancing the Human Experience, a World of Creativity, a series of unique interviews with successful people from around the globe, how they get inspired, where their ideas come from, and how they apply creativity in their business and personal lives. Now, here's your host, Mark Phillips, along with special guest interviewer, Mark Stinson.
Welcome to episode 123 of Enhancing the Human Experience. I'm Mark Phillips. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it. On today's episode, I'm going to play a segment. It's about 6 or 7 minutes long that Mark Stinson and I recorded to kind of supplement our World of Creativity series. That's the series within Enhancing the Human Experience where we're talking with successful people, creative people from around the globe to find out how they get inspired, how they apply creativity, and how they, make more success in their business and their lives by doing, creating in a certain way and sharing best practices for living. We're really enjoying this series. I want to recap the series so far and then also give you a little snapshot of what we've got coming down the line before I jump into this segment. If you recall, the very first episode of this series was episode 118 of Enhancing the Human Experience. That's the kickoff that Mark Stinson and I did. We kind of laid the foundation, so you can pick that up on my website or any of your favorite podcast players or on YouTube at youtube.com/gmarkphillips. The first interview, the guest interview, was really awesome. We interviewed Sherry Talley. Sherry is a former broadcast journalist from Shreveport, Louisiana, and also she's an artist and has many ways of expressing her creativity. Really insightful, awesome interview. The title of that one is Being Authentic, Exploring Your World, and Continually Recreating Yourself with Sherry Talley. That's episode 119 of the podcast. Our third interview, we interviewed two amazing gentlemen. One of them is John Beggs from Australia, and the other one is Danilo Fratangelo. That's a challenging last name, but this was another fun interview. We talked with both of these gentlemen in kind of that was the idea, is to have multiple people on the show, get a conversation going, bounce ideas off one another, share best practices, get insights. The podcast takes a whole different form when you have multiple people, in this case 4 people, sharing a conversation about creativity. It really was fun and exciting, and I encourage you to check that out if you have not done so. That's episode 121. The title of that episode is called Outcome Focused Creativity with John Beggs and Danilo Fratangelo. Really awesome. And moving along, that leads us up to this installment in the series here, where Mark Stinson pulled a book from his library that is called Never Eat Alone by, let me get the title here, by Keith Ferrazzi. And Mark goes over the 5-point process that Keith says, to create more success in your life. These 5 points taken from this book, Never Eat Alone, really, really good. Lots of value in this episode. We hope it's going to be, help you apply in your business, have more success, more meetings, more collaborations, more networking, all the good stuff that moves businesses forward. So we're really excited to share this episode with you. So as I mentioned, I went over kind of the past episodes within this series, A World of Creativity. Now here's where you can listen to it at. And I already mentioned youtube.com/gmarkphillips, but it's also available on any of your favorite podcast players. If you're a Google person, if you're an Apple person, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can, subscribe to Enhancing the Human Experience. And then those episodes that I mentioned are specifically related to A World of Creativity. That's where you can listen. Also, for every episode, and I've done this from the very beginning of the podcast, I always pull a 1-minute 60-second soundbite of what I feel is one of the, if not the most important nugget of information that my guest has shared with me. And I continue to do that on these episodes. In the case of Danilo and John Beggs, where we have 2 folks, I pulled 2 60-second clips, and share them out on my social media. And you can find those clips on Instagram at gmarkphillips, on Facebook at gmarkphillipsfan, F-A-N, and also at Twitter at gmarkphillips. So I know that you have a lot of stuff on your plate and you're busy, and I pull those clips because even if you don't have time to listen to the whole podcast, I want you to be able to at least hear the nugget, the 60-second soundbite that I feel is really important, one of the most important nuggets that my guest shared with me. So I do that in an effort to save you time and give you the goods so you can put it into practice, get on with your life, and create the things that you came here to create. So you can find all those on my social media. All right. Before I play the sound, this episode that Mark Stinson and I recorded earlier this month, I want to give you a little glimpse of what's coming down the line, and we talk about this in the episode as well. But we've got a number of people lined up. We're going to start recording again in September and bank a lot of those episodes and then share them with you in the podcast, over the next coming months. And we're really excited. I mean, like I say, this thing is, we're learning a lot. We're getting a lot of insights into how different people work and a lot of applicable things. Now, I don't want to give anything away, but we are talking about putting this in some type of a format. I don't know whether that's going to be a book or some kind of audio thing or, some kind of bullet point thing, but some kind of tool that you can get your hands on that really will distill all of the things that we're learning from these interviews. And we definitely are learning a lot. It's just a really exciting process and a really exciting thing to be a part of. And I want to thank Mark Stinson for, bringing up this idea. It's just a great idea. We are creators. Everything that is existing in the world came through us. Everything that will come through us. It's just a question of, who's going to create it, how they're going to create it. Is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to be easy? Is, best practices kind of a thing. So it really is interwoven with the theme and the core concept of enhancing the human experience, being creators, creating, the things and experiences that we really want to have in life. We get to determine what shows up in the world. We get to make a conscious decision about how our businesses unfold, what business we even enter into, what products and services we enter, how valuable they are, all these types of things. So it's really exciting, and I hope you're enjoying this series. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode. Again, we're talking about the 5-point process that Keith Ferrazzi shares in his book, Never Eat Alone. I think it's super valuable. Enjoy this soundbite here. We hope you're enjoying the World of Creativity special series within Enhancing Human Experience. I'm Mark Phillips. I'm here with Mark Stinson. We want to chat about creativity just a little bit today.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The series is developing really nicely. I mean, so far we've heard from folks in Australia, Brazil, the great state of Florida. It's on tap. We're going to be sharing more interviews from Germany, India, France, and again, some folks in the U.S. So we're hearing from a lot of really creative and inspirational people. And in the meantime, we just thought we'd share some small snippets of other creative inspiration with you along the way. So, 2 or 3 minute snack-sized bite of creativity, inspiration.
Right? Eat and run.
I've been going through my library, Mark, and I'm sure you've got a great library of text, but specifically thinking about this question of creativity. And one of the books that I thought I would share today is called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And even the subtitle, Never Eat Alone, and Other Secrets to Success, One Relationship at a Time.
Wow.
And the premise here from Keith Ferrazzi is that, you could basically ask any accomplished CEO or entrepreneur or other professional, how did they achieve success? And he says, I guarantee you won't hear a bunch of business jargon, and it won't be their degree, and it won't be, their professional training. You'll mostly hear about the people who helped pave the way for them, and somebody who mentored them or gave them a reference or an introduction. And so they're not caught up in their own success, rather than they recognize how other people helped them. So the premise of this book, and Never Eat Alone, says, eat with somebody else, but also the idea that maybe you should have a book with you, maybe you listen to a podcast while you're eating, but why waste the time? And it's kind of an interesting productivity challenge as well.
Absolutely.
But let's hit a couple of high points of this book in this very brief review. So building a web of relationships. So Ferrazzi basically says our full-time career, lifetime employment is dead. So we're all basically free agents, and we're going from, even if you have a full-time job, it probably won't be for life. You won't retire at the same job you started your career with. So the currency of this is your network. What are the people that you know, and what are they offering? So the audacity of building this network and being able to ask people for what you need is what this is all about. Now, I don't know about you, Mark, but I hate cold calls.
Yeah,
I hated them then.
I'm not a fan of them at all.
No,
Yeah.
So this idea that you can kind of get over your fear of embarrassment or fear of rejection that cold calls represent by saying, would you like to have a coffee? Would you like to have lunch, is a lot easier than can I take an hour of your time to present the features and benefits of my product? Or, would you take a look at my resume? Would you like to interview me? So he basically has a 5-point process here. First, find a role model that you admire and that you think you could learn from. Second, learn to speak and tell your story in a nice, succinct kind of way, and be comfortable with that. 3, get involved. So we're going to talk about meetings, conferences, things like this is where you meet people. So again, a lot of people don't like networking groups. A networking group doesn't have to be a press the flesh, speed dating, hand out business cards kind of fashion. So get involved in a group. 4, develop yourself. So you've developed your story and you learn to speak articulately about it, but also then develop, your self-confidence, develop how you present yourself. And then 5, just do it. So set a goal of initiating a meeting with one new person every week. So you don't have to go from 0 to 80 and say, never eat alone. I'm going to have 3 meals a day with some new contact. But one new person a week that really, and again, the audacity would be, they would never have lunch with me. I can't call them. Well, you'd be amazed. So friends, relatives, colleagues, professional organizations. He has a list of like 20
idea starters for people.
Just idea starters. People you socialize with, people who may have provided services to you. What if you called the people that did your lawn service? What if you called the people who helped install your internet?
That's a great idea.
So the network could go anywhere. So basically, the 15 minutes of coffee, maybe it's at conferences. You're inviting somebody who might share a workout with you. Golf is quite easy and popular. Maybe you want a quick breakfast. You might invite somebody to the theater, to a book signing event, to someplace that you think they would share in common with you. So I really found this, again, re-energizing. It's not a new book. It's been on my shelf for a long time.
I've heard of it.
So this idea that, maybe this also encourages folks to find some creative inspiration on a book that's already on their shelf. And reopen it again.
Refamiliarize themselves, right? That's like, we need that, constantly putting things in front of us. These are great ideas and, helpful people to get their mind going.
So as we continue to interview people in our interview podcast series here, we'll be asking them where they got some inspiration. So I thought in this brief, short sort of interim episode in between interviews, we'd share one of these books.
Great.
So I hope people
awesome.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Mark. And stay tuned for future episodes of A World of Creativity. That's the series inside of Enhancing the Human Experience. You can pick it up on any of your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube. So stay tuned for future episodes.
Thanks for listening to this special edition of Enhancing the Human Experience, A World of Creativity with Mark Phillips. If you liked this episode and want to know more, check out gmarkphillips.com and please leave us a review on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.